Excellent. Thanks, Tara. Welcome to Maine's Preservation's 54th annual meeting. My name is Cale Pickford. I'm the president of the board of directors and the board of trustees, and I'd like to thank you for joining us virtually this afternoon. I'd also like to thank our preservation champions and major donors who have generously contributed $5,000 or more in the last year. They are Rosalie and Christopher Glass, Teresa Haskell, Michelle and Aaron Sturgis, Anna Marie and John E. Thrawn, and 2 anonymous donors. You guys have taken Maine preservation to a new level, and we thank you. These very generous patrons provide a strong underpinning for all our activities and our events. I also want to extend my appreciation to our sponsors, starting with the generosity of our industry leaders, Schönberg Properties, Down East Magazine, Norway Savings Bank, Preservation Timber Framing, and Restoration Resources. We're also deeply grateful for underwriters listed here. And we're also deeply grateful for our lead and supporting sponsors who are also listed here. We have a fantastic program for you all today. First of all, a short annual business meeting. And I guess that now I'd like to officially call to order the 2025 annual business meeting of Maine Preservation. This meeting is for members of Maine Preservation. If you're not a member of Maine Preservation, please refrain from voting on the motions or elections of trustees. And we hope you join soon. A link to the minutes from last year's meetings was sent to pre-registrants is included in this chat. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Richard. We'll now poll on the screen. All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. But the ayes have it, and the motion passes. I'd like now to introduce our treasurer, Bob Libby, to give the treasurer's report.
Hi, everyone. This is the report for our fiscal year ending in 2025, which covers April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. So it's not a calendar year. It is a fiscal year. In terms of our revenue, we ended the fiscal year with a $65,866 surplus, which is great. And our total assets are $1,003,027, which includes some restricted funds for easement management and other activities. Long-term investments are maintained at the Maine Community Foundation, and we had $863,315 in our 2 easement funds at the beginning of the fiscal year, and ended the fiscal year with $847,270 in our easement funds. This represents a decrease of $16,045 over the course of the last fiscal year, due to market conditions and a release of board designated funds. The organization holds no debt obligations or mortgages. As far as expenses go, the organization successfully reduced expenses throughout the year to narrow the budget gap. And this concludes the treasurer's report for the past fiscal year, and thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I would like to now introduce our governance committee member, Willie Wong, to give the nominating committee report. Take it away, Willie.
Thanks, Cale. So I too would like to welcome everyone. I'm pleased to begin the nominating report by placing into nomination for their initial 3-year term as trustee of Maine Preservation, Eben Joes of Falmouth and Ethan Ryle of Cape Elizabeth. So I place their names on behalf of the nominating committee, which as a committee motion does not require a second, and move the question.
All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed, vote nay. Please respond to the poll on the screen. Thank you. The ayes have it.
All right, so next, I'd like to place in nomination for their second 3-year term as a trustee of Maine Preservation, Aaron Sturgis of South Berwick.
All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed, vote nay. Please respond to the poll on the screen. The ayes have it.
All right. So before we entertain our next vote, I want to recognize the hard work and dedication of our trustees, Scott Stevens and Cindy Taylor. They have made tremendous contributions to Maine preservation, and we are so grateful for their years of service as trustees. We're thrilled that Scott is willing to continue on as an advisory trustee, and we wish Cindy all the best. And with that, I'd like to place into nomination for their initial one-year term as an advisory trustee of Maine Preservation, Paul Cady of Gardner and Scott Stevens of Cape Nettic.
All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed vote nay. Please respond to the poll on the screen. The ayes have it. Thank you.
All right. So finally, I would like to place in nomination the current advisory trustees as printed on the program. I will not read all of their names. The nominating committee places the group as printed in the program in nomination, and I move the question.
All those in favor vote aye. All those opposed nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. And thank you, William, for that report of the nominating committee. My heartfelt welcome to our new trustees and advisory trustees. I now entertain a motion to adjourn the 2024 annual meeting. Do we have a second? Excellent. We're now going to put a poll on the screen. Vote aye. All those opposed vote nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Now on to the fun part.
Thank you. Thank you, Kale, Willie, and Bob for doing the dirty work here. I will now give you a quick update on some of the work that we've been doing. So for those of you who do not know, our mission is to promote and protect Maine's historic fabric, which in turn stimulates the economic vitality and cultural vitality of Maine. We have 5 areas of work, and today I will highlight some recent updates. Looking ahead to just next week, we'll be traveling to the Rangeley region. Historic Rangeley is hosting us at the Outdoor Heritage Museum in Aquasic on Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. If you happen to be local to the area, please come and join us. We will also be hosting our next Monday meetup on faith communities while we're on the road. We're going to be doing it from our lodgings in Rangeley. So join us at noon on Monday if you are a steward of a historic faith community building. For the 6th year, we recently awarded $131,000 to 19 nonprofits across the state, listed here, in partnership with the 1772 Foundation. Grants ranged from $2,125 to the maximum of $10,000. We also recently completed the 4th annual Jane's Walk Maine event. It was a great success. More than 1,000 people participated in the day, learning about Maine's communities. And meanwhile, our 3 new summer fellows, James Kelleher, Olivia LeBerry, and Thompson Teasdale, will be joining us for the month of June and then splitting off to work with our trades partners in July. And incidentally, their first days on the job with us are also going to be in Rangeley, so it's pretty fun to be a summer fellow. We have been traveling regularly to Augusta this session to advance legislation that will improve our tax credit program. Our initiative to create a new homeowner program has passed the Taxation Committee again and awaits a vote from both houses. Meanwhile, we are pushing for the 2025 Historic Preservation Fund apportionment to the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. You will have seen a couple of emails from me recently. Without this funding, MHPC will have to lay off staff. Please contact our congressional delegation and ask that they ensure this funding is released for fiscal year 2025 and also included in next year's federal budget. Finally, our annual fundraising gala will be held on Thursday, September 4th at the Smith Center at Wolf's Neck in Freeport. So please commit your patronage now. There will be a link in the chat for you to zip on over there when the program is done and to commit to your patronage. So now, that's it for me. And just as a reminder, we are doing Old Building Forum is happening quarterly with these brief updates on our work, followed by some reports from the field and our partners. And so joining us today, we have Maura Adams from the Northern Forest Center, who will discuss the rehabilitation of the Gehring House in Bethel, which incidentally was one of our 1772 grantees, and also a building we spotted and heard all about on our residency to Bethel. So we're excited to hear about the progress that they've made and see the completed efforts. So let's see if we can give her sharing screen opportunities, and I will shut up.
Thanks, Tara. I am thrilled to be here and thrilled to talk about the Gehring House, which, if you haven't been there, is a fabulous building, as you'll see. And it's one we're really extremely proud of. It's not our only housing project, but at least in my opinion, it's the most exciting because the transformation is just so palpable. Okay, I think you just gave me sharing privilege. Thank you. So I want to just give you a really quick introduction to the Northern Forest Center. So you know who we are and what the context is for the Gehring House project, but I will spend most of my time just with some really beautiful pictures of the house. We're a regional nonprofit working across basically northern and western Maine, northern New Hampshire, the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, and in the Adirondack Park. Working with bringing capacity to communities, doing community economic development, and with a forest stewardship lens over all of it. Our programs really combine strengthening rural communities, growing forest-based businesses, and deepening forest stewardship. And it's especially exciting when we get to put those things all together, as we have in many of our housing projects that I'll be talking about. So we started doing real estate work about 7 years ago, seeing that lack of attainable housing for sort of middle market average people was really, really inhibiting community development, that hospitals couldn't find workers, schools couldn't find workers, people who wanted to stay in the community couldn't buy a place. It was basically there were no long-term rentals. People were, as is happening all over the place, people buying up houses and turning them into Airbnbs and so on. So we started seeing this across the Northern Forest and thought there could be a role for us to play in not solving the problem, but trying to create an innovative new model for dealing with it. So our approach is to create some modest but high quality middle market housing for full-time residents. So when I say middle market, we're not using public subsidies that require income restrictions. We are tailoring our rents and managing rents so that they're affordable to people like nurses and National Forest employees and somebody at the trail organization and public school teachers. These are some of the people who are going to be actually moving in to the Gehring House this month. Making it accessible to people who just want to live and work full-time in the community. We are focusing on adaptive reuse and infill and walkability. So not wanting to just do sprawl, we want to take existing buildings and make them wonderful, or when we need to do something within the context of an existing downtown to really contribute to that local fabric and extend the economic benefits. We are always prioritizing use of wood products when we can. One way we do that is simply by reusing buildings. And we've had so many architects look at us like we're crazy when we say that we want them to restore the original wood floors. It's way more work and they look so beautiful. And there's such a good carbon impact. There's such a better story. It's so much better of an appearance. And yet it's so hard to make some of these people understand that no, like wood is good. We really want to do this. This is good for aesthetics and for the forest economy, etc. We are also creating space in some of our projects for commercial business expansion or establishment. That's not happening at the Gehring House, but that's one of our goals in some locations as well. So we have been working in the Bethel area for many years. So as our first housing program happened in Millinocket, Maine, Then we restored a downtown building in Lancaster, New Hampshire. And then we started looking a little more broadly, like, I think we're on to something here. Let's do this in more communities. And identified some places where we had long-standing relationships, where there was a lot of good stuff going on already, where we had partners, where we knew that we weren't a stranger coming in and buying something and making something happen. We had a lot of relationships and people we could work with to make the project happen. So Bethel was a really natural place for us to seek a real estate project. We've been doing a variety of projects there for many years. A lot of it related to outdoor recreation. Some of the little symbols there are projects we've had our hands in. My colleague Amy Scott lives just outside Bethel and organizes something called the Maine West Collaborative, which has all kinds of community programs. So Bethel was a really logical place for us to take on a real estate project. And what we kept hearing was, oh, you should look at the Gehring House. Oh, you should look at the Gehring House. And we looked at the Gehring House and we were like, that thing is scary and someone else can deal with that. Unfortunately, our thinking evolved on that because that is not what we did. And I'll show you some of the, well, this is the before. I'll show you some of the what it was like when we bought it photos in a minute. But this is this spectacular building that we just are finishing right now and bringing it back to pretty much what you see here with some differences. But this was the house as it more or less originally looked. It was built in 1896 for John Gehring, who was a pioneer in sort of certain kinds of psychotherapy, and it made Bethel sort of, they called it a destination for therapeutic tourism. So people would come and talk and have these sessions and learn from each other and walk the grounds and sit on the big porches and heal in some way. So it was a really neat kind of cultural medical space for that. A group called the NTL Institute, or National Training Laboratories, did a lot of management training and behavioral science training. They used it as a site for their trainings for many years. Got on the National Register in 76. There were some different iterations of ownership, but it was sold to a would-be developer in 2009. He had grand plans. It was going to be luxury condos, and we're happy that for a variety of reasons that did not happen. However, what happened during his ownership was that it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So we bought this in late 2022. Just to give you a little more picture of what it was in its heyday, I really love this upper left picture of just like people hanging out with Dr. Gehring on the steps. We wanted to like recreate this photo with our tenants sometime soon. It's really fun to see these interior photos now. These rooms are very similar to what they were, as they should be. But those are just kind of fun. But when we bought it, a lot had changed. It looked like from the exterior, it looked like a falling down haunted house mansion, and really sad because you still get a vision from the outside of what it was or what it could be. Inside, it was still had all these original, really quite breathtaking features. So you go inside and you're like, all right, I see the promise of this place. And outside, it's still pretty foreboding. So there was just an interesting mix between the two. A lot of the spaces were fairly well preserved, and then in other ones there had been a lot of renovation already. Like in the bottom right, they had sort of a dorm style bathroom, but really a lot, like I said, this juxtaposition between beautiful original features and things in many places, and just like a lot of neglect and ugly modification in others. So our project scope was to create 9 apartments while meeting historic rehabilitation standards, which of course took a ton of work by our architects and by our historic consultants who, you can't move these walls, you can't move this, you can't move that, you have to keep this. So the creativity it took to actually create 9 modern and normal feeling apartments without changing too much was really quite amazing. We did meet the Secretary of the Interior's rehabilitation standards. At the same time, we wanted to improve energy performance, of course. We had all of the windows refinished and improved. We installed wood fiber insulation where we could. So that's a product coming out of Madison, Maine, and was just one of the ways that we were thinking about how to bring forest stewardship and wood into this project. We also got a U.S. Forest Service grant to put a wood pellet boiler in the basement. So the house has both automated wood heat and heat pumps in certain rooms. Then the other element is that we are keeping the adjacent 8 acres open for future development, which I'll talk about in a minute. At the bottom, there is a link to a blog that my colleague Kendall wrote recently about how we used wood in the Gehring House and how we've been accounting for the carbon that's stored as a result of both reusing a building and putting in some of these innovative wood products that we did. So our project team, I can't say enough good things about them. Woodhull out of Portland did design and construction. They were fantastic to work with. Margaret Gartner was the historic consultant. They were a really, really great team. She made it, they made it easy for us to make decisions and to see this through. We've been so pleased working with them. And here's the house today. We had our first tenants move in a couple weeks ago, and there is still 1 unit available. I have a feature on that in a minute. But as you can see, I mean, these speak for themselves. It's been, like I said, it was really fun to see how they worked in some of the historic features, and like when the historic standard said you cannot get rid of this, it's like, all right, well then we will have 3 doors to nowhere. None of those go anywhere, but they're really beautiful. Or they created this really cool little pass-through kitchen space in one of the units, so you could maintain this maintain the trim, but also maintain kind of a light and open feel, which we felt was really important just from an aesthetic and livability perspective, as well as a way to maintain some of the features. On the bottom right is we had to split the original solarium in half. So the other half is still a publicly accessible space. Then this is a bedroom, which is so cool. You would wake up so easily. I just love it. A few other photos of the house today. Again, just there's so much light. There's so much creativity, such honoring of the original features. And one thing I learned, as not coming from at all of an architecture or construction or historic preservation background, I'm from the environmental and community development world, is learning so much about how this works. And how we couldn't put in cabinets and fixtures that were trying to look old. So you all probably know much more about this than I do, but I thought that was interesting. Let's not try to look like that time when it's from now. Let's try to balance, like, yes, this is a historic building, and let's put in something like kind of simple but modern, so it doesn't look like we're trying to replicate something. Which what I ended up really liking, that kind of juxtaposition of aesthetics. If I have if I have not depicted that correctly, my apologies. In the middle here is the other half of that original solarium, that the bedroom's on the other side. Financing is always good to know about. We raised something called the Northern Forest Fund, which is an impact investment fund. We raised $20 million of investment capital with a very low rate of return that we are putting into projects like these across the Northern Forest region. So we took $2.5 million of that Northern Forest Fund low-cost debt into this project. We are getting historic tax credits. We're expecting, this is still in process, but we're expecting that to amount to about 1.5 million. We secured other public funds from places like the U.S. Forest Service, a lot of private grants, like from the 1772 Foundation, which we greatly appreciate, and from some individual donors who just saw the beauty and opportunity that this project presented and wanted to be part of it. So here's my pitch for the one apartment still available. We do have applications coming in regularly, but if you are interested or know someone who wants to live in Bethel year-round, full-time, this is really a spectacular space, and they should email our property manager, Zach, at that address.
Thank you so much, Maura. I think my initial idea is I know the Gem Museum is looking for an executive director. Like
Oh,
maybe
fantastic.
you can
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea.
So great to hear all about this work, and thank you for being here. We're
Yes,
so
my
thrilled
pleasure.
to have been a part of it in our small way. I am going to we're going to have time for Q&A after our next presentation, and so I'm going to invite Anna Grimshaw from the Friends of Liberty Hall to introduce Brian Dewan's film strip about Civic Halls.
Okay, thank you, Tara. Thank you for inviting me and for arranging for a screening of Brian Dewan's film strip. It was made for the Civic Halls Initiative, which is a collaborative endeavor between Greenhorns, Maine Preservation, and the Friends of Liberty Hall. And the purpose of our collaborative work is to raise awareness of historic buildings, the question of how to restore them and return them to community use. And in particular, we have been trying to build a network of support for those organizations and individuals who are trying to save 19th century civic buildings and repurpose them for contemporary community use. And we have found often people are toiling away on their own without really understanding what resources might be available and what kind of support they may get from others who have experience of working on these issues. So Brian Dewan was commissioned by Severin von Schana-Fleming, who is the executive director of Greenhorns. She had worked with Brian in the context of Grange Halls and was particularly impressed by certainly his versatility. He works across a range of different media, but also his deep kind of archival consciousness of trying to create archives of vernacular songs, practices, rituals that came out initially of Grange Halls. And so quite a number of his performances include songs from 19th, 20th century Grange Halls. So we asked him to create a small, quirky, whimsical piece that could be used to publicize the work of the Civic Halls Initiative, that might engage people across generations and that would give them some sense that there is this growing movement of community-based work. So it's a film strip. I don't know if you know about film strips. It's a very particular kind of genre. Which has been sort of rescued by Brian Dewan. It's as if it's a series of still photographs, very beautifully illustrated by Dewan, who is a painter as well as a musician. And as I say, it's really intended to catch people's attention, to be engaging, quirky, whimsical, and allow people to understand something of the history, but also how we can think going forward about these buildings. So enjoy it.
Focus. Focus. In townships and municipalities all over, there are communities tucked away in the hills, in bustling ports, in modern suburbs, and little-known hamlets. But you might have noticed that people do not live out of doors. They construct houses to shelter themselves from rain and snow, the bitter cold, the cutting wind, the hot sun, animals and insects, and roving marauders. Snug in their homes, people sleep like a fox in a den or a bird in a nest. But you will see larger structures which are not private residences, but buildings which can accommodate a number of people congregating at one time. Many towns and cities had opera houses. In the 19th century, an opera house referred to a large meeting hall with a stage for public assembly or oratory, as well as for musical purposes. The Grange brought farmers together to fight monopolies and enjoy good fellowship. Fraternal organizations and secret societies built their own temples, halls, meeting houses. Ritual was an important part of the meetings of such organizations. Robes and velvet draperies, sashes, and strange headwear were commonplace in the ceremonies performed in its inner sanctum. Social singing was a powerful force in the era before sound reproduction. If you were going to make music, you need some elbow room to make it in. In order to hear music, you had to make music. When people get together and sing, they join their hearts and voices to fill the room with song. But as the generations pass, these stalwart structures, built with the sweat and toil of carpenters, stoneworkers, erecting buildings with muscle and bone and simple tools, unassisted by electric or gasoline power, these hallowed halls must bear the burden of winter after winter, the ravages of time, of wind, drought, flood, insects, storm, and rot. Some regard such venerable buildings as eyesores, obsolete structures, a relic of a bygone era that should be raised in the name of progress. Others regard them as cultural treasures to be conserved before it's too late, and the abandoned and unloved civic halls are allowed to collapse and return to the dust. Many believe these halls to be haunted, which they are. They are haunted by strange art, vestments, scepters, symbols, and the detritus of generations gone by.
Lowe's and Home Depot both can't stand when you do this, but there's nothing they can do to stop you. This new $80 jet.
But there's still hope. Individuals and organizations are joining forces to rescue these irreplaceable treasures. To procure funding for their restoration and maintenance. Create new purposes for them to serve. Concerned citizens are working on it as we speak. Halls that were created for the use of secret societies once resounded with mystical mumbo-jumbo, initiation rites, secret ceremonies, and meetings to organize charitable endeavors. Halls created by the patrons of husbandry resounded with voices united in song. Town halls and small government buildings rang with vote tallies and lengthy speeches. But the generations pass, and the practices held dear by those who came before have become foreign to young and old alike in this century. That's why young and old are joining forces to create new uses for these buildings, the purpose of which was to unite a community within a single structure. Already, some are being used as theaters, used for both live theater as well as screenings of motion pictures. Innovative new ideas are being hatched this very moment. Some could be used for avant-garde art centers with modern additions. Why be beholden to old-fashioned ideas about how buildings should be used? Inverting structures gives a modern twist to halls that have sat upright for a century and a half. Another possibility is to move them onto barges and set them afloat. In this manner, legal gambling and other activities can take place outside the jurisdiction of local, state, and federal government. Sky houses will become popular, tethering halls to helium-filled weather balloons until they are borne aloft, held in place with guy wires. From this vantage point, community members can view the wide world without ever leaving town. Halls that have decayed roofs and exteriors could be stripped down to their frames, transforming a debased corpse into a dignified ghost. Halls can be made available to organizations like the Sittin', Starin', and Rockin' Club. Swap shops, where neighbors near and far can trade things for other things. A currency-free indoor flea market. Children's theater.
A simple thumb trick discovered by NASA scientists could be the key to reversing memory decline.
Bingo halls. Saltwater aquariums, conserving dozens of underwater species. Utopian residences, where the inhabitants are so close that they require no privacy from one another. Research centers for paranormal activities. A new generation is turning halls inside out so that the exterior is on the interior and the interior is on the exterior. In this way, everything in the world will be inside, and very little will be outside. In this manner, it will hold the world. Centers for as yet undreamed of spiritual movements. As our beloved civic halls disappear and become less numerous, they will become much more valuable, socially, culturally, as well as monetarily. In the distant future, criminals will attempt to steal these valuable halls under cloak of night with heavy equipment, the likes of which are not available to ordinary people. Fortunately, the technology will be available to protect civic halls with force fields, making the attempted kidnapping of civic halls obsolete. And in anticipation of sea level rise, civic halls can be fortified so that they may continue, unmoved, to serve from beneath the waves. What are your thoughts? What new purposes will emerge for these temples of community? And for that matter, how will future generations live? Just as our forebears would be astonished to see our modern world, so we would be astonished to see how our descendants choose to live. Perhaps our descendants, too, will honor what we have in our time built, even after our way of life has become alien to them. Civic halls, bringing people together, serving a common purpose, a temple of civic virtue. Civic halls, long may they stand, a testament to the past and to the future.
Well, thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but now I do want to just open it up for questions from the more grounded and very real project in the Gehring House to the very whimsical, ethereal, and outer spacey nature of the Brian Dewan film strip. Do we have any questions for our speakers? Boo. Anna, could you maybe speak to a little bit more what kind of material Brian was provided with to come up with some of his ideas?
Well, Brian came to visit. Friends of Liberty Hall are based in Machiasport, and Greenhorns is based in Pembroke. So Brian came and spent a few days with Severin in Pembroke and came out to Liberty Hall. So he really sat and looked at buildings, or he went inside them, and allowed himself to be kind of open to what they suggested. And he particularly likes this idea of the film strip. It's really a series of still photographs, which again, it's evoking an earlier era in which there may well have been stop-start programs in these halls. So rather than making a video, he specifically used this form, which I think is very successful. But yeah, he's an artist, so he was able to sort of lift the Civic Hall's initiative from being too grounded in the nuts and bolts of how we raise money, how we support each other, what we do with falling down buildings, to sort of take it into this more imaginative level. And as I mentioned just briefly, he was very keen to engage a wide range of people of different ages to get them interested, to get them thinking, well, we have a building in our community. We've often just thought, well, it will fall down, but specifically asking young people, school children, people who might have new ideas, radical ideas about what could be done. So I think it was a wonderful initiative in asking an artist to think through what we might want to propose and make it something that, as I say, kind of lifts off the ground, the initiative.
Thank you. And Maura, I'm wondering if Northern Forest Center has its eye on any other historic buildings that we might be interested in hearing about.
Not at the moment. We are working on an old building, building in downtown Millinocket, but there's not a lot of.
We like old ones too.
It's a great old building, and actually, the construction team was taking down the yucky vinyl siding and uncovered this beautiful, like almost like toothed dental. They kept calling it dental something trim on the exterior that we are keeping now. So there are some features in there that we're excited about, and we are keeping the floors, and they're gorgeous. We are doing some really like modest but cool and interesting new construction. But I just learned this afternoon of a historic building in New Hampshire that's not on the register. Could it be? I don't know. How much would it cost? I don't know. But it's one of those that's like, if you were going to do one in town, that would be the one. So we're kind of we're kind of excited about possibilities, but we're also one pretty small organization with like not that much money and compared to the scale of need. So we're trying to be both opportunistic and like pretty strategic around what we take on.
Well, we'll keep our eyes open for you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for our speakers? All right. Well, then I think that we can all go home or are already home. We can turn off our screens and enjoy our evening. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Anna and Maura, for sharing your work.
Thank you.
It's a treat. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a great night.